Grandma whispers, "Get out now." And just moments later, the police arrives. Clara stepped into the old farmhouse, a place heavy with memories and shadows. The air was thick, almost suffocating, as she made her way inside. The dim light of the early evening was fading fast, thick clouds smothering the sun's warmth. She could feel the chill like fingers creeping up her spine as she rushed to her grandmother May's side. May sat in her worn armchair, frail and fragile, her eyes, often so bright, were clouded with fear. "Clara," she whispered, her voice a brittle thread, "you need to get out now." The words slithered from her lips like a desperate plea. Clara shook her head, dismissing it as just her grandmother's ailing mind. But the gravity in May's gaze made her stomach twist. That look, there was something in it, an ache deeper than mere illness. Outside, the storm rolled in with ferocious intent. Thunder rumbled ominously, the wind howling like a bad omen. Then it came, the screech of police sirens, piercing through the haunting quiet of the farmhouse. Blue lights flashed through the windows, cutting through the growing darkness, illuminating the walls that had seen too much. Clara's heart pounded wildly. Why were the police here? Her mind raced with anxious possibilities. The anxiety clung to her, thick and suffocating. Shadows danced chaotically across the walls, and beneath each flicker of light, Clara felt a sinister presence lurking beyond the farmhouse. She turned back to May, whose expression had changed to one of fear mixed with resignation. "It's not safe, Clara," she warned, her voice trembling. Clara Scott's surged with unease. Family disputes, hidden betrayals. Growing up, she had heard whispers of dark things hidden beneath the surface of their family. She sensed it now, a terrible revelation echoing through the tense air. The police were close, but they didn't seem to realize the danger lurking just beyond the tree line. A stranger watching the farmhouse, like a hawk seeking its prey. "Stay with me, Grandma," Clara said, squeezing May's frail hand. The softness of her skin felt so fragile against her own. With each second that slipped by, the weight of urgency settled on Clara's shoulders. She felt as if the walls were closing in and the secrets of her lineage were pressing against her from every side. Was someone in her family playing a dangerous game? Moments turned into an eternity, each tick of the clock echoing ominously. Then, as if to punctuate her growing distress, another chilling sound sliced through the wind outside. A branch snapping. Or was it a footstep? Clara swallowed hard. Should she heed May's warning? Or was it time to unravel the darkness she felt creeping ever closer? The choice loomed over her, heavy and inevitable. What awaited them both beyond that door? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Clara's breath hitched as the air around her thickened. The ominous creaking of the house felt like a warning. She squeezed her grandmother's hand tighter, her heart pounding like a wild drum. The police lights flickered outside, but inside was the suffocating weight of something unspoken. Another crack echoed outside. Clara could almost see the darkness creep closer, one shadow lurking, watching. "Grandma, tell me, why do I need to leave?" Clara's voice trembled, choking on the fear that filled the room. May leaned in closer, her ancient frame trembling. "They won't just come for you, Clara. They'll come for me, too." Her words hung in the air, heavy like the storm raging outside. Then came the knock at the door, a sharp, commanding sound that shattered the tension. Clara jumped, her heart racing. "What if it's them?" she whispered, her throat tight. "What if they're here for you?" "Get the back door," May urged, her voice a mere whisper. The urgency knocked the air from Clara's lungs. She hesitated, torn between running and staying. The weight of family loyalty clashed with the instinct to flee. Another knock, more insistent. The police were not going to wait much longer. "Clara!" May's voice pierced through the chaos, pulling her back. "Get me the old photo album from the shelf. You mean to see." Without thinking twice, Clara dashed to the dusty shelf. Her fingers brushed against the old leather cover, the weight of years beneath its worn surface. Pictures of family memories, laughter, and light. But something darker lingered behind those smiles. She pulled it out, desperate to understand. As she flipped through the pages, the photographs blurred, then sharpened with a jolt. Most were familiar, but then she stopped dead. There, in a faded picture of a family reunion, was a man she'd never seen before, standing right next to her grandmother, a hand on her shoulder, a smile that sent chills down her spine. "Who is this?" Clara's voice trembled, her hands shaking. May's expression twisted in horror. "No, not him. It can't be." And just as the realization hit, the door splintered open, police officers flooding the room. Clara's pulse thundered in her ears. "Get back!" an officer shouted, pointing toward the back of the house. "Where's the suspect?" What suspect? Clara felt her knees weaken, confusion swirling within her. "What are you talking about?" But there was no time for answers. May's frail frame twisted in her chair, eyes wide with a mixture of panic and something deeper, something darker. "Clara, listen to me. That man, he's not just anyone. He's part of our family. You have to take that album to the police." "Why?" Clara felt dizzy. The world spun as she tried to grasp what was happening. Secrets spilled from her grandmother like a broken dam. "What did he do?" Before May could respond, a shout echoed from the door, drowning everything else out. "Stay where you are! We have a warrant!" Officers stormed in, urgency etched on their faces. Clara froze, staring back at May. The weight of betrayal pressed against her chest. Who was that man? What had her family hidden? Suddenly, the memories seemed less like warmth and more like a blanket of lies, choking and suffocating. The storm outside roared, wind howling like a banshee. In the midst of chaos, Clara's mind raced, piecing together fragments of a puzzle she never knew existed. Who could she trust? The blue lights flickered ominously, illuminating a truth lurking in. The shadows? One that could change everything. As May's lips quivered, words unspoken, a sinking dread settled in Clara's gut. The choices stretched before her, tangled in uncertainty. Was she about to uncover the horror hidden in her roots? Or was she stepping into something more dangerous than she could imagine? Thunder cracked again, drowning out her thoughts. Clara took a step back, torn between loyalty and fear. Everything she thought she knew was unraveling. But could she uncover the truth before it consumed them both? Clara's heart thudded like a drum in her ears. The officers shouted, urgency filling the room, but all she could focus on was May's fearful eyes. "What do you mean, Grandma?" she gasped. "What's happening?" May's frail fingers trembled as they hovered over the photo album. "The man in that picture, he's not just family. He's a threat. But it's worse than you think." A loud crash interrupted them. The front door flung open, and officers stormed in, guns raised. "Stay back!" they shouted, their eyes scanning the room. Clara's breath hitched. Everything felt surreal. "Clara!" May's voice cut through her haze. "Run, now!" Before she could react, May stood up, surprisingly quick for her age. The shaking in her legs vanished as she faced the coming chaos with sudden strength. Clara's mind raced. Why was her grandmother acting this way? The officers shouted orders, the atmosphere thick with confusion. Clara glanced back to May, who was now moving toward the open door, her eyes wild. "Grandma, don't!" Clara cried, but it was too late. As May pushed through the officers, a chilling realization struck Clara. The moment May reached the threshold, flashes of memories hit her. Long-forgotten details, conversations hushed in corners, fleeting shadows in the night. She was suddenly thrust into a revelation that turned her blood to ice. But then, just as May was about to step outside, a gunshot echoed, a deafening crack slicing through the air. Clara screamed, her throat raw, as she watched everything explode in chaos. The officers scattered, yelling commands, panic unraveling the scene. May collapsed backward, her frail form hitting the floor. Clara rushed to her side, her heart racing, fingers trembling. "No, Grandma, please!" She pressed her hands against the wound blooming on May's side, warmth spreading against her skin. "Clara!" May gasped, her voice strained. "You have to understand. Trust no one." The words slipped from May's lips like sand through fingers. Clara's breath caught, shock holding her in place. "Why are they? Who shot you?" But May's eyes stared through her, as if looking at something far away. In that moment, Clara noticed the photo album still clutched in her hands. She opened it again, flipping frantically, until she found the picture of the unknown man. Something she had like a blur. Clara looked back down at May, whose expression twisted with an awful mix of pain and sorrow. Suddenly, a young officer stepped forward, eyes wide, recognizing the man in the photo as he grasped the growing situation. He was put away years ago. How is he connected to your family, Clara?" "What?" Clara's mind raced. "What do you know about him?" And then it happened. A sound, a voice, familiar yet foreign. "Did you really think they could keep me locked away forever?" Clara whipped around, her heart plummeting as everything came crashing down. Standing there, framed by the doorway, was the man from the picture, alive. His smile twisted into something sinister and cruel. Time stood still. The unthinkable had walked back into her. Life, her family's secrets spilling out like a broken dam, threatening to drown her. Was this man truly family, or something worse? Raw terror flooded Clara, making every instinct scream to run. But she was rooted in place, trapped between her past and the nightmare playing out in front of her. Everything she thought she knew shattered around her. In that moment, the storm outside raged on, echoing the whirlwind in her heart. What had her family brought back into their lives? What darkness lurked behind her bloodline? Clara's pulse quickened. She had to uncover the truth. But could she handle what lay ahead? Clara stood frozen, heart hammering in her chest, as the man from the photo stepped further into the room. His smile twisted, a sharp grin. That didn't reach his eyes, like barbed wire hidden behind a veneer of charm. "Did you really think you could erase me?" he taunted, each word dripping with malice, carrying the weight of dark secrets. "Who are you?" Clara's voice cracked, barely a whisper. Her mind raced, fleeing the truth. She glanced at May, who lay crumpled on the floor, a streak of blood bright against the faded carpet, her mouth twitching in pain and fear. Time slowed, feeling surreal and heavy. The officer's gun trembled in his grip. "Get down!" he shouted. But Clara stood paralyzed, caught in the web of her family's unknown past. The man's gaze flickered, landing on her. There was a strange familiarity, an unsettling feeling she couldn't shake off. His presence sent chills racing down her spine. "Clara," May gasped, pushing herself up with a struggle. Desperation etched into her features. "You must understand. Then an explosion of sound erupted outside, the crack of thunder and the orchestra of shouting voices from the officers lost in the chaos. The storm swirled louder, as if the heavens wept for the gathering despair. The man took a step forward, eyes fixated on May in a way that made Clara feel sick. "We can't keep hiding, Grandma," he said, voice thick with bitter nostalgia. "The truth is coming out. Your little secret isn't safe anymore." Clara's heart bottomed out. What truth? What is he talking about? She felt the ground slip beneath her, her family's history twisting into shapes of terror she never understood. With a sudden intensity, May shouted, "It's about betrayal!" The words sliced through the air like glass, making everyone pause. "Clara, please, you don't know how deep the roots go." The man laughed, a cruel sound that echoed off the walls. "Betrayal? Oh, dear May, you should talk. The family's loyalties were never as solid as you pretended." Clara blinked, her breath hitching. "What does that mean? What have you done?" Suddenly, the lights flickered and then went out. Pitch black engulfed them, the storm outside crashing against the farmhouse. Clara's pulse raced, her senses heightened in the suffocating darkness. She felt another presence, a shift in the chaos, and it struck her like a bolt of lightning. A scream broke through the thunder, sharp, piercing. It was followed by an order: "Secure the perimeter." The officers scrambled, and panic unfolded. Clara grabbed the album, its leather surface slick with her grandmother's blood, and hitched it close. "Run!" May gasped, her voice a whisper, but urgency was laced with desperation. And just as Clara turned to flee, a figure swirled in the shadows, a woman, stepping out from the edges, her face illuminated by the flashes of blue lights. Clara's breath caught. It was someone she recognized, but from where? "Mom?" The words slipped from Clara's lips in disbelief. The beautiful yet cold features of her mother emerged from the darkness, framed by the chaos. "You should have never come back, Clara," she said, voice smooth and icy, glancing between the man and May with a knowing look. Clara recoiled, disbelief pooling in her stomach. "What are you doing here? You were supposed to be gone." But the storm outside roared, drowning Clara's emotions, tearing at the fabric of reality. The man smirked, his gaze shifting to the both of them. Ah, the happy family reunion. Perfect timing. He stepped closer, and Clara's instinct screamed at her to run. "Everything is falling apart," the man continued, leaning into the moment. "Families are built on lies, Clara. You should know that by now." Clara's mind spun, trying to grasp this new bombshell. The room was full of secrets tangled in shadows, and Clara felt the weight crushing her. "What do you mean?" she shot back, trying to hold her ground. Her mother stepped out from the blur of confusion, a smirk painting her lips as she looked between Clara and May. "Oh, sweet Clara, didn't you ever wonder why Grandma didn't want you to return? There's a reason we've been apart." Shocks coursed through Clara, sending icy tendrils of fear creeping up her spine. Her family was unraveling before her eyes, and their lies threatened to consume her. You're not part of this," Clara gasped, a tidal wave of disbelief crashing over her. The room closed in, fear tightening its grip. Outside, the storm raged on, drowning out the truth that was just beginning to unfold. But as the figure of her mother loomed, Clara felt every certainty she previously held shatter. "What have you done? What did you hide from me?" Those words hung heavy in the air, unanswered, and with that unresolved tension, Clara realized she had to choose. The path forward was murky, paved with the doubts that threatened to drown her. Would she confront the darkness or flee into the storm? The question echoed in her mind, leaving a taste of fear and uncertainty that lingered like a bitter afterthought. Clara's heart raced as the shadows shifted around them. Her mother's presence sent a jolt through the air, a mix of disbelief and anger swirling inside her. "You? How could you even be here?" The question slipped out, jagged and harsh. Fear clutched at her throat, choking her voice. Her mother's smile was icy, unfazed by the chaos unraveling. "We always knew this day would come, Clara. Secrets have a way of crawling back." Behind her, the man from the photo leaned against the frame, smug and sinister, as if he had planned this twisted reunion. "Stay back!" one of the officers shouted, spinning to face Clara's mother. "We're not afraid to use force." But Clara barely heard him. Her world spun, reality tilting on its axis. "Mom, what do you know about him? Who is he?" The words felt foreign, swirling in her mouth. The man's laughter burrowed into her mind, echoing her confusion. "You really don't get it, do you?" He stepped forward, drawing Clara's eyes like a magnet. "I'm a part of your family's legacy, and soon, so will you be." Every nerve in Clara's body screamed, "No, I won't let you." But she couldn't finish. A blinding flash of light erupted outside, illuminating their faces, casting long shadows that danced and flickered around them. The storm raged, making the windows rattle as thunder cracked in response, shaking the very ground. "Mom, please, tell me the truth!" Clara's voice broke, a raw tremor, refusing to back down. "What did you hide from me?" Her mother turned her gaze, lasting just a moment in quiet reflection, as if weighing the cost of truth against the weight of love. "It's not just about him," she said softly, but the edges of her voice were hard. "Everything you thought you knew is a lie, Clara." And then it happened. A loud bang erupted behind them, a shattering sound, glass flying in every direction, as the second story window burst wide open. Time froze. Clara's breath hitched in her throat as a figure burst in from the storm. A tall silhouette dressed in dark clothes, eyes wild, face obscured by shadows. Before anyone could react, the figure lunged. Clara's mother barely had time to shout, "Get down!" But it was too late. The intruder was upon them, a flash of a knife catching the fleeting light as panic exploded in the room. Clara gasped, heart racing as instincts kicked in. She ducked, and her mother stumbled backward, trying to shield May, who lay helpless on the ground. Chaos erupted. Officers shouted orders, scrambling to regain control as the man in the photo dissolved into the fray, smirking at the unfolding drama. "You can't protect her, Mom." This is what happens when secrets come home. The knife clashed against metal, echoing like a funeral bell as Clara scrambled backward, breathless, her palms slick with sweat. "What is this?" she cried, panic clawing at her throat. But it wasn't just her family that was unraveling. The truth was bursting at the seams. In that moment, she caught a glimpse of her mother, who wasn't just a victim in this monstrous play. Something flickered behind her eyes. Something darker than fear. Clara froze, a realization clawing its way to the surface. Suddenly, another sound filled the room, a familiar voice. "Clara, it's time you learned the truth." A third figure stepped into the turmoil, and Clara's breath seized. It was a man she never expected to see, someone from her childhood stories, someone she always thought was a ghost. The shadows wrapped around him like a shroud, and instinctively Clara's heart sank. "What?" she whispered, each word dripping with disbelief. The web of her family's dark history twisted tighter, smothering her emotions. "You're alive?" And then, before anyone could contain it, the truth began to spill. A shattering of identities that would transform everything Clara thought she knew about who she was, and the family tied to it. As hands grabbed at her arms, pulling her deeper into chaos, Clara felt her world fracture, a voice echoing in the storm. "You will never escape this, Clara. You belong to us." Her heart raced wildly, the lines between loyalty and betrayal blurring as the last bit of light fell away. What had her family woven into this nightmare? And in that moment she realized there was no escaping the storm that already lived inside her blood. Clara's heart thundered in her chest, beating like a war drum caught in a tumultuous storm. Her mother's icy gaze bore into her, the chaos swirling around them, momentarily fading as the entire world felt rooted to the spot. "You're alive?" she whispered, the disbelief pooling in her throat like a bitter substance that threatened to choke her. "Yes, Clara, I've always been here, in the shadows, waiting," her mother replied smoothly, too calm amidst the panic. The officer gripped his weapon tighter, fear and uncertainty glistening in his eyes. The intruder moved closer, his knife glinting in the brief flashes of blue. Light spilling through shattered windows. Clara's mind raced, her breathing growing shallow. How was this happening? What kind of twisted family reunion was this? Just then, a loud crash interrupted her thoughts. The door slammed open again, and the wind screamed into the farmhouse, blowing papers and furniture toward the swirling chaos. Another figure, an older man, burst through, drenched, eyes wild like a cornered animal. "Get her out! They're coming!" he shouted, urgency lacing his voice. Familiarity struck Clara like a bolt of lightning. It was her estranged uncle, A name spoken in hushed tones. A ghost of the family. A puzzle piece she never thought would fit. "What do you mean?" Clara gasped, her head swimming. "Who's coming? What's happening?" But before her uncle could respond, the man from the photograph stepped between them, a smirk twisting his lips. "Uncle Nathan, you're late to the party, but I always knew you'd show up eventually." He turned to Clara. "You see this? This is what family legacy looks like. Fear, betrayal, blood." Clara blinked, dread pooling in her stomach. "What do you know?" she asked, desperation clawing at her. Her mother raised her hand, eyes wide, as if trying to shield her from the truth. "Don't listen to him, Clara. He's lying. You don't have to." But before she could finish, a loud explosion rocked the house. Windows shattered, sending shards flying like deadly rain. Clara screamed and fell to the ground, covering her head. Chaos erupted in loud crashes and frantic voices. "Everyone, down!" the officer yelled as he shielded May, his body taut with tension. Clara glanced around, panic tingling in her fingertips. The room spun, voices fading into a chaotic background hum. In that moment, the intruder lunged and her mother shot forward, pushing Clara aside, thrusting herself right into the path of danger. "No!" Clara screamed, eyes wide as she watched her mother collide with the blade. A swift motion, turning into horror, but instead of crumpling to the floor. "I'm the one who orchestrated everything. All of this, it's mine." Her smile grew broader, and as if on cue, the darkness connected, and the intruder stepped back, bowing slightly in a show of respect. "Welcome back, Elizabeth." "No!" Clara's voice quivered, the words barely escaping her lips. She felt lightheaded, as if the ground had swallowed her world whole. You're not—" "I'm your mother, yes," Elizabeth interrupted. "But I have my own motives, Clara." "You're part of something bigger than all this." Thunder cracked outside, mirroring the turmoil inside her. Clara's heart pounded, the darkness of her family swirling around her, twisting everything she thought she knew. Betrayal felt like acid in her throat as questions spiraled. "What have you done? What is this?" Elizabeth stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with a power Clara had never recognized. "It's more than just blood, sweetheart. It's about choosing sides." Everything blurred, the world tilting on its axis as Clara's mind reeled. Sirens screamed outside, adding to the chaos. Relationships shattered around her, threads pulled tight until they snapped. Would she stand by her real family, or face the storm that threatened to engulf her? Would she uncover the truth, or be pulled further into the abyss? In that pivotal moment, surrounded by faces she was supposed to trust, the question hung in the air. Who was truly dangerous? The people she thought were allies, or the strangers lurking in the shadows? Clara clenched her fists, the weight of betrayal wrapping around her as she faced her new reality. The storm had only just begun. What would she do next? Clara felt the air tighten, choking her with fear and disbelief. Her mother's revelation sliced through her, creating an unbearable weight of betrayal. "What do you mean it's yours?" she gasped, incredulously coloring every word. Her heart raced as she faced the smirk on Elizabeth's face, the truth slithering farther from her grasp. "I orchestrated this," Elizabeth repeated, voice smooth and steady. "Every decision. Every lie brought us to this moment. You were always meant to be part of it." "But why? Why would you hurt us?" Clara's voice cracked, desperation clinging to her. The chaos still swirled around them, the sounds of officers shouting commands, filling the space like a gathering storm. Suddenly, the man from the photo stepped closer, injecting himself with a twisted grin. "You don't see, do you? This family of yours has always been a game, Clara. And you're the queen on the chessboard, ready to make your move." Clara's mind reeled. "No, I won't play your games," she shouted, panic bubbling inside her. She glanced at May, whose pale face held a mix of fear and sorrow. "What about Grandma? What about our family?" Elizabeth's eyes narrowed. "Family? That's a sweet word. But we're not bound by it anymore." She turned to the intruder, her voice dripping with authority. "End this." An icy chill ran through the room as the man nodded, stepping away from the chaos and toward Clara. "You need to see who truly leads this." "Family," he said, his tone suddenly serious. Before Clara could respond, the ground beneath them shuddered, shaking the walls. Crash! Thunder boomed outside, exploding against the house. The lights flickered, plunging them into a darkness that felt alive. Panic fluttered around her like a caged bird, desperate to escape. Clara didn't dare to look away from the man advancing toward her. "What are you going to do?" she yelled, voice trembling, a wave of foreboding washing over her. But then it happened. A blinding light erupted from behind the man. A flash so intense it momentarily drowned everything in brightness. Clara squinted, heart racing, shoulders tightening as she struggled to make sense of the chaos. Then there was a sudden crash. The front door burst open again. More figures storming into the room. Clara flinched as she felt the air shift, and when the light dimmed, she gasped in horror. There, standing amid the confusion, was a young girl who looked just like her. Pale skin, dark hair, wide eyes, filled with a knowing terror. "Clara," the girl cried, her voice echoing in the darkness. "You have to listen. They're here for you." The realization hit Clara like a punch to the gut. "What? Who are you?" she whimpered, fear crawling over her skin. The girl was her double, like a reflection from a broken mirror. No one else seemed to notice her yet, but Clara felt a deep connection, a strand of fate pulling tight between them. "I'm you," the girl declared, voice trembling. "From another time, another choice. You can't let them win." Before Clara could say anything, Elizabeth's face twisted in anger. "Enough of this!" she shouted, lunging forward. But it was too late. The scene erupted into chaos again. The young girl turned and reached for Clara, her fingers brushing against Clara's wrist. "You have to choose!" In an instant, their minds collided, visions flashing in Clara's head. Past lives, lost moments, choices made and unmade. The weight of generations bore down on her, and the truth spiraled into view. Clara's heart raced as the knowledge settled in, a truth buried deep within her. "You're me!" she half whispered, realization crashing over her like a wave breaking on the shore. "But how?" "Something went wrong," the girl replied, urgency crackling. "You were never meant to belong here." A sudden crash brought Clara back to the present, and she felt a jolt of fear surge through her. Her family, her so-called allies, were veering toward chaos. "Choose!" a girl cried again, voice urgent, as their surroundings began to unfold in chaos. Who could she trust? What did it mean to belong? With everything spiraling, Clara felt her reality fraying at the edges. "What do I have to do?" she shouted, as the shadows closed in, ready to consume her. The girl looked back with determination. Break the cycle! And just like that, Clara felt the ground beneath her shift, and she realized she was at the crossroads of her fate. One choice away from everything she thought she knew. Would she follow the echo of her own heart or lose herself to the darkness? The stakes had never been higher. Clara felt the air tighten, choking her with fear and disbelief. Her mother's revelation sliced through her, creating an unbearable weight of betrayal. "What do you mean it's yours?" she gasped, incredulity coloring every word. Her heart raced as she faced the smirk on Elizabeth's face, the truth slithering farther from her grasp. "I orchestrated this," Elizabeth repeated, voice smooth and steady. "Every decision, every lie brought us to this moment. You were always meant to be part of it." "But why? Why would you hurt us?" Clara's voice cracked, desperation clinging to her. The chaos still swirled around them, the sounds of officers shouting commands, filling the space like a gathering storm. Suddenly, the man from the photo stepped closer, injecting himself with a twisted grin. "You don't see, do you? This family of yours has always been a game, Clara. And you're the queen on the chessboard, ready to make your move." Clara's mind reeled. "No, I won't play your games!" she shouted, panic bubbling inside her. She glanced at May, whose pale face held a mix of fear and sorrow. "What about Grandma? What about our family?" Elizabeth's eyes narrowed. "Family? That's a sweet word." "But we're not this family," he said, his tone suddenly serious. Before Clara could respond, the ground beneath them shuddered, shaking the walls. Crash! Thunder boomed outside, exploding against the house. The lights flickered, plunging them into a darkness that felt alive. Panic fluttered around her like a caged bird desperate to escape. Clara didn't dare to look away from the man advancing toward her. "What are you going to do?" she yelled, voice trembling, a wave of foreboding washing over her. But then it happened. A blinding light erupted from behind the man, a flash so intense it momentarily drowned everything in brightness. Clara squinted, heart racing, shoulders tightening as she struggled to make sense of the chaos. Then there was a sudden crash. The front door burst open again, more figures storming into the room. Clara flinched as she felt the air shift, and when the light dimmed, she gasped in horror. There, standing amid the confusion, was a young girl who looked just like her. Pale skin, dark hair, wide eyes filled with a knowing terror. "Clara!" the girl cried, her voice echoing in the darkness. "You have to listen! They're here for you!" The realization hit Clara like a punch to the gut. "What? Who are you?" she whimpered, fear crawling over her skin. The girl was her double, like a reflection from a broken mirror. No one else seemed to notice her yet. But Clara felt a deep connection, a strand of fate pulling tight between them. "I'm you," the girl declared, voice trembling. "From another time, another choice. You can't let them win." Before Clara could say anything, Elizabeth's face twisted in anger. "Enough of this!" she shouted, lunging forward. But it was too late. The scene erupted into chaos again. The young girl turned and reached for Clara, her fingers brushing against Clara's wrist. "You have to choose." In an instant, their minds collided, visions flashing in Clara's head. Past lives, lost moments, choices made and unmade. The weight of generations bore down on her, and the truth spiraled into view. Clara's heart raced as the knowledge settled in. A truth buried deep within her. "You're me," she half whispered, realization crashing over her like a wave breaking on the shore. "But how?" "Something went wrong," the girl replied, urgency crackling. "You were never meant to belong here." A sudden crash brought Clara back to the present, and she felt a jolt of fear surge through her. Her family, her so-called allies, were veering toward chaos. "Choose," the girl cried again, voice urgent, as their surroundings began to unfold in chaos. Who could she trust? What did it mean to belong? With everything spiraling, Clara felt her reality fraying at the edges. "What do I have to do?" she shouted as the shadows closed in, ready to consume her. The girl looked back with determination. "Break the cycle!" But just then, a heavy thud echoed from behind them. It crashed like thunder, the sound reverberating through her bones. The figure of a man stepped through the door, every ounce of authority in his stance. He wore an officer's uniform, but it was the badge on his chest that sent a jolt through Clara. "Detective Samuels?" she breathed, disbelief flooding her. He was the detective who had been leading the investigation into her family's dark past, unearthing secrets that Clara had thought were buried. But what happened next twisted the knife deeper into her heart. Samuel stepped forward, eyes blazing with intensity. "Clara, we need to talk," he said, voice steady and urgent. "The truth is worse than you think. This family, it isn't just tangled in lies. It's connected to a crime, a betrayal that goes back generations." "What are you saying?" Clara's heart raced, each word heavy with dread. "They've known." He pointed to Elizabeth and the man, both shifting with discomfort. "Your entire family has been part of something horrific, a legacy of darkness that you were meant to inherit." "What?" The world spun, pulling Clara down a rabbit hole of despair. "You're saying I'm part of this?" Then Samuels dropped the bombshell that shattered reality. "They're not your family, Clara. They took you away. You're not even—" He never finished his sentence. The room escalated to chaos as Elizabeth lunged, but Samuels was quicker, forcing her back. "Clara, trust me, you have to escape them." But all Clara can see was the chaos unraveling around her. A dozen memories flooded her mind, everything pulled taut, about to snap. "What does this mean?" she cried, feeling the floor drop beneath her. In that heartbeat of confusion, she realized the truth that had been hidden all along. Not just family ties, but blood ties, a deep-rooted connection that could upend everything. "Am I she gasped. "Break the cycle, Clara. It's the only way," the young girl echoed, fear in her eyes. As everything crashed together, Clara stood on the precipice of revelation, her family's darkness reaching for her. What if all along she was never meant to belong? The question hung in the air, unanswered, echoing in the depths of her soul, leaving her teetering on the edge of a truth more terrifying than the storm outside. Clara stood frozen, the air thick with confusion and dread. Detective Samuels was right in front of her, and she could feel the weight of his words pressing down like a lead. "Blanket." "What do you mean?" she whispered, each word dripping with fear. But before Samuels could answer, Elizabeth lunged towards him, fists clenched. "You don't know what you're meddling in," she spat, eyes flashing with anger. Chaos erupted. Clara's heart pounded in her ears. "Mom, stop!" she cried. But there was a rush, bodies colliding, and the next thing she knew, Samuels was wrestling with Elizabeth, both grappling for control in a wild dance of desperation. Through the flickering chaos, Clara caught the young girl's pleading gaze, her eyes wide and desperate. "You have to decide, Clara." "Decide what?" Clara shouted, her voice rising above the fray. "Break the cycle," the girl urged. "You can't let them take you." But the words barely registered. The room spun. The tension thick like fog as Elizabeth threw Samuels aside and turned toward her. "You could have been great, Clara. We could have ruled together." A chilling laugh echoed from behind her, and Clara turned to the man from the photo, watching with eerie amusement. "This is all just a game to them," he sneered. "You've always been a pawn, sweet Clara." "Enough!" Samuel shouted, his voice trembling with urgency. "They'll kill you for the truth." "You have no idea the lengths they'll go to silence you." "Are you saying I'm in danger?" Clara pressed, her breathing ragged, eyes darting between the two. The girl stepped closer, and everything around Clara quieted for a heartbeat. "Remember the photo? The date?" The memory hit her like a flash of ice. The picture in the book, connections she hadn't seen until now. The date was the night of a tragedy. Pieces of her past began to collide in her mind. Then, suddenly, the door burst open yet again. Another figure stormed in, but it wasn't just anyone. Clara's heart stopped. It was her brother Ethan. "Get down!" he shouted, rushing toward them. "Ethan!" Clara cried, but the moment was lost in a surge of action. Before she could react, Elizabeth lunged at Ethan, teeth bared. Desperate to silence him. A flash, a glint of metal, and then, bang! The shot rang out, louder than thunder, splintering through the farmhouse like a rift in reality. Clara's heart dropped, the world around her freezing. Everything was in slow motion. Ethan staggered back, shock morphing. His face into a mask of pain and disbelief. "Clara," he gasped, falling to the ground, hands clutching his side. "No!" Clara screamed, rushing to his side, heart racing in panic. Blood soaked through his shirt, each heartbeat pulsing like the countdown to a ticking bomb. She pressed her hands against the wound, a rush of warmth spreading like fire. "Ethan, stay with me!" But he was fading fast, eyes glazing over. "You have to listen to break." His breath left him in a shudder. No more words, a whisper of silence following. Clara's screams filled the room, echoing off the walls. She looked up to find her mother and the intruder frozen, a moment of realization dawning. "What have you done?" she cried. But her voice was distant, lost in disbelief. The shock settled in, thick and suffocating. Everything she knew crumbled into dust. And then Elizabeth's voice broke through the air, soft and chilling. "It's time to choose, Clara. Will you embrace your darkness or fight to be free?" Clara staggered back, heart racing, overwhelmed by the weight of choices she never wanted. The tension shifted. Secrets hung heavy. And in that moment, everything spun out of control. Could she truly break the cycle? As she knelt by Ethan's side, the realization hit like a lightning bolt. This was more than just a family feud. It was a reckoning. And she stood on the edge of a decision that would change everything. What would she do? Could she save him in time? Or would she drown in the legacy of darkness that was her birthright? The storm had just begun, and Clara felt the winds howling for her, as she faced a choice that would define her family's fate and her own. Clara's heart raced as she knelt beside Ethan, feeling the warmth of his blood pooling beneath her fingers. "Stay with me," she begged, but his eyes were glazing over, the strength ebbing from his body. "I can't let this be the end." The chaos swirled around them. But she was anchored in that moment, pressing her hands against the wound, willing him to stay. Please. She felt the pulse of every heartbeat, his, her own, the storm raging outside. "Clara," Ethan whispered, his voice a mere thread. "Break the cycle. Don't follow." His words pulled her attention back to Elizabeth, whose anger seeped into the air like a thick fog. "I won't let you stand in my way any longer," Elizabeth roared, but Samuel stepped in front of her, authoritative and unwavering. "Clara, listen to me. You're not like them. You can write your own story." The truth of his statement coursed through her like wildfire. She was standing at a crossroads. Her family's legacy wasn't shackles. It was a choice, a chance to rewrite everything. Folding the world around her, she could either be consumed by this rage or rise above it. Suddenly, the young girl appeared again in Clara's mind, her voice smooth yet urgent. "You hold the key, Clara. This is your moment." The weight of that knowledge surged within her, pushing the fear down deep. "I choose to fight," she shouted, tearing her gaze away from the chaos and focusing on the girl, her reflection in a parallel universe. In an instant, a surge of determination washed over Clara. "I'm done being a pawn." With resolve coursing through her, she let go of Ethan's wound for just a second, reaching for the album. Her fingers trembled against the worn leather, feeling the surge of generations swirl inside her. "This ends now." Clara flung open the album, showing Ethan the photograph, the man, the date. "This is our history. We were never meant to repeat this madness." The truth rang out, echoing from the walls. Ethan's eyes sparkled with a flicker of understanding. "You can stop it, Clara. Don't let them pull you into darkness." But suddenly Elizabeth lunged again, and Samuels was countering her, catching her wrist and twisting it. "Not on my watch," he growled. Amid the struggle, echoes of Clara's past called out to her, the whispers of family secrets intertwining with the storm outside. Like a storm churning within her soul. No, she wouldn't be a vessel for their darkness. "I will break this cycle," she shouted, heart pounding. "I deserve a new legacy." The room stood still for a heartbeat. Clara locked eyes with Elizabeth. "You've haunted my life long enough," she declared. The force of her words laid bare the horror Elizabeth had unleashed. The manipulation, the lies, the betrayals. "It ends now," Elizabeth faltered, surprise flickering across her face. "You don't know what you're getting into." "But I do," Clara countered, a rush of clarity dawning over her, breathing life into every word. "I choose my own path, and I will not let blood decide my future." With that, the atmosphere shifted, an electric tension brimming in the air like static before a storm. Suddenly, the lights flickered and then stabilized. The energy pulsed and swirled around Clara, as if amplifying her resolve. Outside, the thunder cracked like a whip. Yet she stood firm. She wouldn't allow their darkness to claim her. "We are our choices. I choose light." In that final moment, as Elizabeth reached out toward her, Clara felt a rush of warmth, the knowledge that her family's cruelty would not define her. She stepped forward, The album held high, and with one decisive motion, she cast it into the air. Let the truth be known. The pages fluttered in the wind, alive with energy, spinning and scattering like leaves. They drifted toward the intruder, enveloping him in light, and as the picture connected with reality, it shattered the core of his malice, illuminating the very roots of the darkness that had gripped them all. With a blinding flash, everything collapsed. Illusions of her childhood, the grim legacy, and Elizabeth's corrupted intentions crumbled into dust. "Ethan!" Clara cried as the crater of chaos shook. But she felt the warmth of his hand squeeze hers, and for the first time, a smile flickered on his face, immense relief washing over him. "You did it," he whispered against the fading chaos. Clara's chest felt light, hope surging anew. "We will make our own legacy, together." As everything fell silent, a newfound strength coursed through her. With the storm calming outside, Clara stood with her family, one forged, not by darkness, but by the truth they would choose to embrace. You have to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. And be sure to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share this.